Hey seniors, so here we are, part one of the college process, and I'm going to walk you through each step. My best advice, don't overthink it, read each line and watch this video. Let this help you, and of course we are here for questions. So part one of our college process is preparation, and it's designed to be the foundation to make everything else work correctly. If you miss steps in part one or do parts of part one incorrectly, you will find that things like requesting transcripts and letters of rec are not going to go right for you, and you don't want that to happen. So I'm going to take you through all the steps of part one so that you understand how this all works and why following these steps is so important. So we're going to start with, here's my document. You guys all got this. It's going to be on the school website. It's in your email. It'll be linked in Naviance. It's in Google Classroom. This document is going to be in plenty of places. So I'm going to take you through part one right now. First step, basically, there are three ways to apply to college. You can either use the Common App, the Coalition app, or the school's individual application. And I highly recommend an organizational chart, a list, something that works for you that helps you determine what each school takes. A lot of students will use codes like Common App CA, Coalition app CO, individual app will use an I. So whatever works for you to get yourself organized and determining which school takes what, I highly recommend doing it. I find that the vast majority of seniors have several Common App schools. So that's really where we recommend starting. Get into Common App, make an account, and it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to show you here my Common App account. I'm actually going to sign out. This is just your Common App homepage. Those of you that have never made a Common App account yet, definitely use this document that we've sent out a few times. This is the common questions for the Common App doc. It tells you how to make a Common App from start to finish, how to fill it out straight from the first step of creating on the website. So that is all there for you. That's Common App. If you go in here to the Coalition, you will see we've got that web address on our procedures doc as well. How to make a Coalition account is all here. And then you have the schools who just don't take either one of those and do their own thing. You've got to go to their admissions website and create an application account. So that is step one, just creating accounts. I know a lot of students already have an account created for one or more of these platforms, and that's a great start. So that's it for step one. Step two is the waiver process. So the FERPA waiver, Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. This is a waiver that we ask you to fill out. And we recommend that you waive your rights to review your recommendations. And students usually do this with no problem. This is not just a central thing or a New Jersey thing. This is a global thing. So the FERPA waiver exists everywhere. And it basically states that you're okay not seeing your letters of rec. And your letters of rec are going to be amazing. They're going to be beautiful letters of rec written on your behalf by your counselor and your teacher. So the vast majority of students never have an issue with filling out this FERPA waiver. So you have to do this FERPA waiver in two places. The first one is going to be actually in your Common App account, which you've already created if you did step one. So we're going to go into Common App, and I'm going to show you where the recommenders and FERPA section is. Now, I'm holding the procedures document with me so I can follow along, and I recommend that you print a copy as well. So when you're in your Common App account, you're going to click on My Colleges, and you should have a couple schools listed through here, because if you've created a Common App account already, chances are you've added a couple colleges to it. So we're going to click under any of the schools. It doesn't matter which one, because recommenders and FERPA falls under every single school. Okay, so you can click on any of them. So we're going to click here under recommenders and FERPA, and you can see I've already done it. That's why I have a green checkbox. So my screen's going to look just a little different than yours. But in step two, if you follow the procedures document, it says under FERPA release authorization, click complete release authorization. So it's going to be right here. It's going to say complete release authorization. I've done it, but we can actually see what I've already done. So when you guys go to complete the release authorization, it's going to take you through some prompts. It's going to ask you to read some important information and check a box. And then you're going to continue. And then it's going to ask you to read a little bit more information, check a couple more boxes. Please read this information so that you understand what is being asked. It's going to ask you to acknowledge that we can send your transcripts and letters of rec out to colleges. You're going to make the request for those down the road. But then it's going to ask you to select one of these options. And we highly recommend you select the option, I waive my right to review all recommendations and supporting documents. If you would select this option, check the box and then sign, you're completely done. Now, if you have questions about what it means to not waive your right, just reach out to your counselor or myself and we can explain that. But like I said, most students are having no problem waiving their right, checking the box, signing electronically, dating it, and you're going to submit it. Now, once you do that, You're going to get a green check box beside recommenders and FERPA for every school. So you do it one time and it covers you for every single school. So you can see I've done it and I've got a green check box by recommenders and FERPA for every school. And that's it. That's the first part of step 2. The second part of step 2 is actually another waiver form that covers you for all the non-Common App schools. So the schools that take Coalition, the schools that have their own application, we actually need another waiver on file for you. And that waiver can be found in your class of 2021 Google Classroom. So back in the spring, we shared with you counselor feedback forms, and that was a 6-page packet that's in your Google Classroom that we asked you to fill out with just some more insight about you, some accomplishments, some traits, information about your activities, your goals for the future. There was a section for your parents as well. And many of you turned that in. Many thanks from your counselors and I to get those in. They really aid your counselor in writing your letter of rec. But I know there's a couple more lingering out there, so please make sure you get that in. It's all done electronically, but the last page of that packet was a recommendation waiver form that you should have signed electronically. So if you turned in your counselor feedback forms through Google Classroom, you turned in the second part of number 2, which is that recommendation waiver form. So again, we're at step 2, and there's 2 parts: the waiver form in Common App, which we just went over, and the recommendation waiver form as part of your counselor feedback forms. And that's it for step 2. So now we're going to go back and take a look at our procedures document, and we're going to look at step 3. Step 3 is matching. So this is where we need to get your Common App account and your Naviance account matched. Now, we don't do this matching process for Coalition schools or for schools that take their own app. It's just for Common App and Naviance to get basically talking to each other so we can submit your documents successfully. So if you go into your Naviance account, following along with step 3, it tells you exactly where to click. You're going to click on colleges, and then you're going to go down to colleges I'm applying to. Now, you might not see much here because you haven't added schools to your list. That comes in step 4. But for now, we just need you to do the matching process, and it just literally takes seconds. So this hot pink box, you're going to go to the right of it where it says match accounts. And there's going to be some instruction, and it's going to tell you first you need to create a Common App account, which you did. Then you need to sign your Common App FERPA waiver, which you did. So successfully match your accounts. You're going to enter the email address that you used for your Common App. Okay, so whatever email address you used to create your Common App account, that's going to go in here. And your birth date, since Naviance already knows it, should be populated in here. But if it's not, make sure it's in there and it's accurate. And then you're going to click match. And hopefully you should match successfully. And then that's done. But if you get a response that says your account can't be matched at this time, or you didn't really look at these tips over here, you might need to do that. Or you might need to reach out to your counselor and say, something isn't working. I've done it all right, but I still can't match. We are here to help you. We can sometimes look behind the scenes and see what's going on. But that's it. That's all you've got to do for step 3 when it comes to matching accounts, okay? Now we're going to move on to step 4. And again, I've got this printed version here. I recommend you have one too, but you can see it on my screen. Step 4, very important. And this is the part of part 1 that will take you a little bit more time, because this is where we need to get your college list totally updated and ready to go for requesting. So your college list in Naviance, we're going to go into Naviance, back to the home screen. We're going to go back to colleges and colleges I'm applying to. And this is all mentioned in step 4. Now, I already have some schools on my list. You might have nothing here yet, so you need to add schools that you know you're applying to. And that is all done by this little pink plus sign on the right-hand side of the screen. And folks, this is every school you're applying to. Doesn't matter what app they take, this is your comprehensive college list. So you can see I've got some schools, but I'm just going to show you an example of adding another one. So I'm going to click the pink plus sign. I'm going to type in just a couple words from the name, and it's Penn State. So I want to apply to Penn State, and I'm looking at the main campus, which is right here. And I'm just going to leave all this alone for a second. You can start filling it out if you want, but I'm just going to add that application to my list. And you can see one college successfully added. Scroll down, and there's Penn State. Okay, but there's some missing information. There's a question mark. What does all that mean? So that is what we need to work on next in step 4, but we need to do it for every single college. So once you get all your schools on your list, you're going to go up to this little edit icon. So over here on the right side, there's an edit icon for every single school. And you're going to edit information about that school so that your counselor and teachers know exactly when your documents need to be sent. So I clicked on edit for University of Alabama, and here's what comes up. First question, have you submitted your application? Folks, you do not need to fill that out. That is not that important to us. We don't need that information to do anything on our end. That is just for your own organizational purpose. You can leave that alone. Then there's a question here, I'll submit my application. How? So what app are you using? Are you using Common App, Coalition App, direct to the institution? So right here for Alabama, there's no other option except for direct. And what that means is Alabama has their own app. So you're going to go to their site and fill out their application. They don't take Common App or Coalition. So we're going to leave that alone. And there's a deadline, but how did that deadline get there? It got there by editing our app type. And this is the most important part because we need to make sure that that deadline is accurate. So let's look at the app type options. There's priority consideration, February 1st. So that means getting your app in a priority way, but you want to be considered for merit money, and pretty much anybody does. So we're actually going to edit this to be under the scholarship deadline of December 15th. So now that tells you that is your deadline date for Alabama. It populated in, and we're going to save, and that's it. But let's go down to a school that doesn't have a lot of information in it yet, like Penn State. We're going to go over to edit, and let's begin with this information. So how are you submitting your app? Well, Penn State takes the Common App, but they also have their own app. And let's just say you're using the Common App. There is an option here that says I'm not sure yet, and I'm going to tell you that's not an option. We need to know if you're applying via the Common App or using the Coalition app or applying directly to the school using their app. And if you are using one of those two, you're going to fill in this bubble. I'll repeat that. Either you're using the Common App and you're filling in that bubble, or you're using the Coalition app or the school's individual app, and you're going to check direct to the institution. So direct to the institution is your option for Coalition because there is no bubble for Coalition, but I'm going to stick with Common App. Now, this is the big problem. There's no date. Your counselor teachers have no idea when your stuff needs to be there. So let's go up to app type, and there's a few options: rolling, early action November 1st, priority November 30th. You want to go with early action. Priority is going to be anybody for consideration of merit money, but the early action date comes first. So we're going to go ahead and pick that one. And you can see 11-1 has populated. We'll save it. And now when we go back to Penn State, we've got a date. We've got no more little question marks. We know we're using Common App. So I'll show you one more. We'll go in here to University of Rochester. We'll click edit. Again, a couple different options of how to apply: Common App, direct to the institution. And I'm applying, wow, there's a lot of options here, okay? So I'm applying by the priority deadline of December 1, because let's say you don't want to apply early decision. You don't want to make a binding commitment. You don't want to wait till January. You want to be considered. Priority usually means priority consideration for merit aid. So we're going to leave this at December 1. But folks, be sure to look through all of your options before you settle on one to make sure that that date is what you want it to be. And we'll save. So the only way you can move past step 4 is if every school is accurate, make sure you've got the right campus, that your app types are accurate, your deadline dates appear, and that the submission type, the application you're using, is either CA for Common App, or this little empty computer icon means direct to the institution or Coalition. So you want to make sure you've got a nice clean screen here before you do anything else. The only time you may have an empty deadline date, and this is highlighted here in step 4 and the section below called Before You Proceed, is if you are applying to a school rolling admission. Rolling admission is really no hard deadline date. Your counselor is going to act on your request as soon as they can. If they see the abbreviation called roll come up for rolling on your list, they're going to act on getting your materials out as soon as they can. Sometimes you may go in and select rolling for a school and it gives you a date way in June or July of 2021. That just means that's when the school stops taking rolling applications. But when we see roll come up for rolling, your counselor is going to act on getting your docs out as soon as possible. And I'll talk about how to track that and know when that happens when we get into part 3. So that is it for part 1. It will take you a couple minutes to go through each school, look at the editing part, make sure that everything is accurate, deadline dates, app types, and just make sure you're following along line by line here with part 1. And if you do that, you will be just fine in getting these foundation steps done so that everything else works really well. If you have any questions, concerns about dates, things are not appearing correctly, just reach out to your counselor. We can always do a little editing, behind the scenes to make sure that the dates you want to appear, maybe for a specialized program, nothing's coming up that matches your date, we can make that stuff happen on our end. So don't hesitate to reach out. Don't be nervous about part one. It's not that bad. Just follow step by step with this video, and don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions.